As far as conspiracy theories go, I have a tendency not to believe anybody who talks and makes lectures and makes significant amounts of money doing lectures regarding conspiracy theories. But people turn up dead and they're saying things and they weren't really making much money at it. I tend to believe those type of people. I'm going to put this out here. I think it's quite well known. I was looking at some of the YouTube videos. I've seen this some years ago. His name is Phil Schneider. And I noticed none of them are monetized videos, too. I guess it's not a good avenue for, what do you call it, advertisers or whatever. But I just found this to be interesting because the guy is dead. He came out with a number of things, accusations or claims about aliens and things like that. And supposedly carried like high security clearances in the government and things. But I want to go on to some things very briefly. To me, this gets a little too way out, my personal opinion. But something doesn't add up with this stuff too. Whether it's half true, part true, whatever, I don't know. It's really out there. But you notice if you're into conspiracies and you think that Wikipedia is controlled by the government or whatever, you'll notice Phil Schneider's page is deleted. If you want to make something out of it, go ahead. But it just could be that it wasn't of importance. But people into the UFO phenomena, which I am not. I know there might be something to this because if you look at some of the ancient structures throughout the world, like the pyramids and some of the temples, even some of the structures that are underground, there's some very high-tech people that made those things, and we probably couldn't even make those things today, even with the best technology that we have. So that provides me with some kind of physical proof that, maybe Earth was visited by other beings at one point in time. But these structures are 10 to 13,000 years old. Phil Schneider was talking about now. Now, I want to cut right to when he died. He died in approximately January 17th, 1996. He was making lectures all through 1995. Now, if I'm putting this out here, let me put it this way. It's something worth looking at. Not what I'm putting out maybe so much, but if you want to do further research into this. The only thing I really go on to is Wikipedia says about conspiracy theories and UFOs. Phil Schneider made a few appearances at a UFO conventions in the 90s, which is basically 1995, espousing essentially a new version of the theories mentioned above about aliens living underground. He claimed to have survived the Duce, New Mexico-based catastrophe and decided to tell his tale. Now, what's interesting about Phil, though, if you look at his left hand here, he's got 3 fingers missing. That was supposedly from the attack when he was attacked by aliens. And he actually shot a couple of them with a 9mm Walther PPK. So, it was, I'm not going to get into all this stuff because there's actually, I seen this years ago. I've seen it. I just re-reviewed a lot of it. And I just figured I'm going to post something on this. Just for some people that aren't aware of it. I'm posting this because even though this stuff is way too crazy for me to believe in, there's too many physical evidence things like where he got injured. This is one injury, 3 fingers missing. Here's the other injury on his chest. Can't see it that well, but it's here where he got hit with this thing. It's like an electrical device from the alien. And I have a hard time believing anything about aliens living underground. So many other stuff about underground bases, I could believe that. The black budgets, I could believe that. Well, I have factual information. Donald Rumsfeld couldn't account for well over a couple $1 trillion, right? So, I mean, that's legit. But, a lot of people, worried about bullshit. Yeah, here's something else you can worry about. But, I look at this guy. He's dead, right? He's dead. And what happened, it was around January 17th, 1996 in his apartment. And he said he was already stating in I think it was November 1995 in a speech that he already had 13 attempts on his life. And you can see in another speech where he talked about he had 10 attempts on his life, and this is also in 1995. He showed like the bullet that hit him in the shoulder, and there was also an FBI agent that helped him get him out of that mess. So obviously some of the stuff he's saying, some people don't want him saying it. That's why you should pay attention to it. David Icke, I have no respect for. I got a feeling that guy's a total scam. Well, it's my personal opinion. He's a total scam. And maybe he gets his information off of people like this. You know, David Icke talks about aliens and lizard people and crap. And, you know, Phil Schneider talks about there's various races of aliens and stuff. I don't want to get into that shit. But what's interesting about his death, he had a rubber hose around his neck, went around his neck 3 times, was tied very tightly in the back, and that's what killed him. And they found his body a few days later with some Jehovah's Witnesses who were going to see him, which they go visit him every once in a while. He just talks to him. He's not really religious, but he couldn't have tied that knot with 3 fingers missing on his hands. He couldn't have tied that knot. And he always stated that if his death was by suicide, the whole thing, it was a murder. This is one of those way out stories. I don't know how many people are aware of this that are actually would be seeing my subscribers or anything, but it does have some type of merit to it because, well, I can't believe it. I can't believe it, but I got my antenna up on this garbage. Now, people like Alex Jones, I don't trust him. I don't trust, you know, they're basically all the mainstream that are alternative media. David Icke, I think he's total bullshit all the way. This guy, the fact that he died, the fact that I'll say it wasn't a suicide, he was murdered, and there was various times they tried to kill him, well, there's something going on. And when he went into the apartment, right, when he died, and supposedly, you know, he was murdered, right, lecture materials, alien metals, because he chose to show these alien metals, like in other words, they had very, very heavy weight, or they're very, very hard. They couldn't, you could scratch a diamond with them very easily. But he's always demonstrating these things. You couldn't break it, you couldn't bend it. Various metals. He was always demonstrating these things on lectures. So I can't see how that was faked. Higher math books, photographs of UFOs coming out of Operation Crossroad, A-Bomb, which is Bikini Atoll, notes for his book on the ALien Agenda, all were missing. See, he was also coming out with a book in 1996, and that was to be published. So all that stuff stopped. Everything else in the apartment was still there: gold coins, wallet with hundreds of dollars, jewelry, mineral specimens. So if they're killing him for money, they didn't take that. So let me put it to this way. As crazy as this sounds, there might be something to it. So, people into conspiracies and stuff like that, if you want to get it to look into a little further, they got a lot on YouTube about Phil Schneider and a lot of long presentations. Now, I can actually state a few things where I don't see where it makes sense, because supposedly you got like well over 100 underground bases throughout the United States, and each one of these bases has a few thousand people or more working at them. Yet this is so secret, you know, none of these things are coming out. That's a pretty big secret to keep. I mean, we know that there's underground bases throughout the United States, but as far as the alien stuff, I don't know. The only thing that convinces me ironclad that there could be some kind of life on other planets is the fact that we got structures throughout the world that are 10 to 13,000 years old that can't really be built with the technology we have today. So hands down, that pretty much tells you somebody else built it, right? But the stories that this guy says, but you know, he's got the war wounds here, and he wasn't working in the government as a high-end geologist on these tunnel projects for a number of years. But I don't want to make this too lengthy, so if people want to get into this and research some more of this, it might be worth your time. I don't know what the hell it's going to tell you, what you can do about it, but this might be legit. You know, people look for giddy rumors sometimes, but this might be legit. He was killed. He was killed. It wasn't a suicide. I mean, it wasn't over money. You could say if they were loan sharks, you know, why'd they leave the gold coins in a wallet with hundreds of dollars of bill and jewelry it's left in the apartment, right? They took the information about the UFOs. Now, I don't know. That's pretty crazy stuff, but you know what? It might be accurate. It might be accurate. I tend to pay attention to people like this. David Icke, I don't pay attention to that guy at all. I don't pay attention to Alex Jones, too. I think they're a pile of crap. And a lot of these pastors out there, too, with the religion. Depends on what kind of religion it is. I mean, you know, there's real religion and there's fake religion. So, let me put it that way. So, I don't want to knock the religion. But there's a lot of people out there that talking Jesus left and right, and they're totally full of it. But this is fairly interesting, and I just figured I'd put it out there. His name is Phil Schneider. If you're actually into this UFO stuff, you probably heard of him. If you're not, you might want to take a little look at it, because some of the stuff, it's like if you're digging the details, it's almost like it's as crazy as the story sounds. It might be true. It might be. I don't know.